And we're kicking this one off with some controversial takes. Production has said that the Hawks are winning this game. I don't know if I agree. We'll have to
Oh,
find out and
nah,
see.
nah.
But let's kick it off with that statement then. Who do you guys think is going to win? Oak, you can begin.
No, I'm down for Hawks. I think production's being cheeky with it, but no, I'm down for Hawks. Absolutely. I think I'm not really. Came out yesterday actually that I'm not really a big believer in Flawless. I've been quite critical of him apparently, and I'm, Blank has maybe also been not the best jungler this split, but they're slowly, surely rolling in. It's like rollout in Pokemon. Each round they're getting better and better. So long as they don't miss, they're just going to keep going, right? So I'm all aboard the SoftBank Hawks train. Choo choo.
Okay, and then what about you?
I'm putting the C4 on his tracks right now. I'm derailing that train real quick. Nah, it's been burning core all the way, baby. I'm a strong, flawless believer, to say the absolute least. They're taking this thing home tonight. It's gonna be an easy little victory for him. Trust.
Well, if we do look at history, because obviously these teams have played twice already. That is how best of 3-round robins go. Burning Court won the first one. It was quite a long game. It was 36 minutes. It was relatively low kill. It was quite slow paced. Burning Court came out on top. Game number 2, Hawks pick up the win, but they were much, much better with it. They were much more aggressive. They were much more oppressive as well, and they really stomped that win. So in terms of like actual perspective of the two, I would argue that there is a place where the Hawks could maybe bring this back. It will feel to me like it's all on Blank though. And maybe that's just my take, but for me, the way that they won their last game, he kind of popped off on the Hecarim. He was kind of everywhere and anywhere. Do you feel like this is the key to success, or is it actually more onto like the bot lane for the Hawks, or another role that you think?
I know I'd agree with you by and large. I think Blank is a bit of a still now throughout their success finally and Blank finally coming board. He's still a little bit of a question mark for me, just because it's been a little bit inconsistent. But you mentioned it briefly. Hecarim is a new jungler that's coming to the scene, and every jungler seems to be finding how comfortable they are with it. I think Blank has looked pretty good on it. And that's really important because it's coming in basically every single draft. If it's not picked, it's banned away. And if they get blue side, they're going to be locking it in most likely. And so it's just looking at the champions they compare it with, because finally as well, with Ahri coming in and Ahri being the big shakeup for mid lane meta, finally a champion with facilitating early game plays, some lane pressure as well. I love seeing it, and I think Dash has been exceptional on it. This pairs up so well together, and then combine that with maybe some strategic bans against, well, I say strategic, but they're the most common bans against Burning Court, which really shut down this top half of this team, I think can really put SoftBank Hawks in a winning position.
Yeah, potentially could it be? And Echo, you talked about Flawless, right? You said that you liked Flawless a lot. Obviously, in the start of the season, things were going great. They were popping off. They were winning. Then they got kind of found out a little bit, where Flawless was basically only playing for that mid game. Do you feel like that's kind of been resolved, or do you think that's still a problem?
I feel it is still a little bit of an issue, and just in general, I feel that he's kind of getting exploited right now. We constantly are seeing that Diana ban coming out. They're always trying to force Flawless onto these champs that he doesn't necessarily not feel comfortable on, but he's definitely he's a lot more shaky, I would say, than some of his like better mains. And so we kind of sometimes we see that where he doesn't really perform to the best of his abilities, and it's kind of into the hands of, for example, Yuhi to perform his best with Fujimoto in the bot lane, Ray Farkey as well. Even if they fall short sometimes, they're still there. But overall, I think they're definitely working towards it, and that's all I can ask of them.
Yeah, no, indeed. And to be fair, this game is almost like a playoffs warm-up right now. Obviously, it could have had big implications, but right now the standings are locked. Well, at least for these teams. Obviously, Sengoku, Russell Jessica still battle it out. But in terms of the rest of this, is kind of just warm-up for playoffs. Obviously, there is actually a potentially strong chance that these two do play against each other in playoffs, because, well, it'd be up to the third place to choose whether they want the Hawks or CGA. I feel like more likely to choose CGA. But given this statement, do you feel like this match means a lot actually going into playoffs, or is this just kind of like, okay, we're going to play this for the placement?
Yeah, this is one of our final hurrahs for these two teams, and I think it's very specifically important because Hawks have been on a big upswing, and we've kind of seen the top three of the ladder, and then the rest of the teams. And the Hawks, we were kind of at this, especially after the first 3 weeks of the league, we're like counting them out. Axis are going to be the ones in the sixth place position, but Hawks have slowly but surely been getting better, and that means, in relation to what you said as well, these teams very likely meeting up in playoffs. It means that, yes, I think this matchup's very important. I really want to see who comes out in front in the head-to-head, because that really sets the table for the whole third, fourth, fifth, sixth place position as a total coming into playoffs.
Fully agree. And for Burning Core, I feel like Burning Core have had like the most 50-50 season. Their win rate right now is 53%. Like, they have had a great start, a weird middle. Do you feel like they're on a bit of an upswing as well, KO, or do you think that they're kind of decreasing in their momentum? Where do you see Burning Core at the moment?
It's tricky to tell, right? Because it's like with that 53%, it is hard to kind of say, because some days they perform incredibly well. Like, for example, their win over CGA looked maybe not dominant, but it was definitely a very strong kind of showing. But then other times they're just falling incredibly short, where you kind of have to ask yourself, like, what's going on? Like, what team is this? This ain't my Burning Core. So it's like it's tricky at times to tell, because it's like when it works, it works. When it doesn't work, they kind of crash and burn.
Yeah, they do crash and burn a lot, and obviously it's not really what you want to see if you're supporting them. Let's talk about some of the lanes. Obviously top lane, a big one for Burning Core. Rayfaki, we talk about champion pools a lot today. This man has played anything and everything. Do you feel like he's kind of the key to victory over the rest of this team? Because obviously, when we look at the rest of the lanes, like, there is a lot of favor towards the Hawks.
I don't know if he's the key. I think he definitely is close to doing that for the team. I think he definitely enables what I feel is the key, is just flawless and dice. But Rayfaki, I mean, he hit yesterday in our top three all pro teams. He hit some of people's third and second place tops in top lane. Like, people have confidence in this player in Burning Core. And yeah, I by and large agree. I placed him third. I think he's been very, very big, especially on stuff like, I mean, a little bit sketchy occasionally, but for the most part, some of the Darius as well as the Gragas gameplay, I think, has been stellar. And specifically within that team unit, he manages to perform multiple roles. And the big thing is, it's when Flawless and Dice when they're on point, he pairs up so well in tandem with that. He's such a big facilitator for those players to find continual leads after they secure something for themselves. There's that caveat, is that Flawless and Dice need to be on their roles that they are best at, and then that in turn leads to Burning Core finding big success.
And on the flip side of those two, obviously Blank and Dasher, a lot of people saying Dasher was kind of carrying this team and everyone else was just basically holding him back. Do you feel like Echo, like, that's kind of become less of a problem? Or do you think that Dasher is just good enough that he could take on that 2v1?
I mean, Dasher, I'm not going to put it past him. He's shown he is incredibly good. And if he can get some good synergy going on with Blank, who is also, dare I say, an incredible facilitator, right? He can be at these positions where he needs to be. And if they keep following this sort of uptrend that we've been talking about, that we are seeing from the Hawks, I think he might be able to make something happen.
We'll have to see. We are going to be going into pick and ban. Have the Hawks learnt fly? Will they dodge out the attacks of Burning Core, and will they swoop down to pick up this win? We will find out in pick and bans.
Oh God, he really did that to us.
That's an illegal move. That's not allowed in pro play.
That's a suspension right there. Like, get him out of here. All right. That being said, though, pick and ban phase already here from the Hawks. We got Zeri, Tryndamere, and our potential third ban about to be taken off the table already, taken away from Burning Core. I don't think there's any real surprise there, to be honest.
No, specifically this Tryndamere. People always talk about the Darius and Rayfaki, but this Tryndamere as well is that it's the most played both band champion away from Burning Core. Combine that with the Greys, a really good blindable laner that they've also been somewhat leaning towards, and also Flawless specifically has been playing a little bit of Graves as well. Just trying to target some of that blindable. But interestingly enough, the Diana's been left open, so is the Yasuo. They're also on red side. That's a potential option for them. Now, Hecker and banned away, which puts SoftBank Hawks in a bit of an awkward spot. So thinking, well, what else can we pick into? The Jinx is still available. So is the Aphelios that maybe we could be leaning towards. Now, something that I think they've been, okay, well, they were quick. They were too quick for me. Rise locked in, and this is a really stable lane to be looking towards. And Rune Prison, combined with this tank build from Rise, just makes this champion such an easy champion to start just making easy picks with. You just Rune Prison, you jump in with 3000 HP, you got Rune Prison, you lock one carry down for 2 seconds, and your whole team plays through that.
Yeah, interesting though to see that here from both sides. Well, really, just from the Hawks, already opting to pick the mid lane first. Bit of a power statement to say the least. I mean, I'll give them that. Like, that's something you can do, but I don't know if that's always the move. But we do see once again, right, Burning Core already picking up that Jinx, right? You don't ban her, you pick her. No surprise there. And yeah, I'm a little, I don't know if shocked is the word, but surprised that they didn't instantly secure the Diana since it was open for Flawless, since that is like one of his main play champions and also mainly ban champions as well. So when you get that opportunity to pick it, you think that they just go ahead and just bite and grab it.
I think this leads directly into what SoftBank Hawks look in next. Xayah has been suddenly a very big priority for teams, a big disengaging AD. And Yasuo Diana, that's their main target. So Burning Core can foresee the future. They know the Xayah is coming out, and they opt instead towards a more stable, blindable combination in that Ahri Jinx. Doesn't really give away a lot in draft. Ahri especially can make picks from range, which means that you can bow that Xayah ultimate without having to really commit to any fights. So they're very eager to look at that. Now they're going to look towards potentially support, and then lock in the Nautilus there, which gives a little bit of pressure in this solo lane, but also gives Fuji the opportunity to roam outside the lane. One thing I'm really happy with is that he hasn't opted in for that Kench. I like that this Nautilus gives a little bit of proactiveness for this team.
Yeah, overall, not coming up. No real surprise there from the side of Fujimoto, who's been looking pretty decently on it. That and Leona as well. So it does go ahead and pick that up. And now with the ban phase, curious to see if maybe we see the Diana ban coming out. They're realizing that, you know, they got to pick that. They got to pick that jungler sooner than later.
It's going to be more top bans. Yeah, absolutely. Getting this Darius away from, remember, red side, which means Ray Focky has access to counter pick. Means that it's going to be a couple of bans dictated towards this top side. I like that they take the Rakan off the board. You never want to give Xayah Rakan away for free, and this could be a good opportunity for it. So you get rid of that, and you also get rid of Set. He's been a really stable blind pick, or is a stable blind pick for top lane. Kanatu has yet to play it, but you can see why they look towards it.
Yeah, and opting to actually get rid of the least. And this kind of makes you ask yourself, are they planning on kind of, are they trying to like bait him in to actually pick the Diana? Because you would think that they would have taken anything off the board by now.
Oh wow,
the Kindred lock. Wow. Okay.
So this stuff specifically as a counter pick to that Heartbreaker engage from Blank also pairs up in tandem with the team because they're making ranged pickup points, which means Kindred, a pretty good walk forward champion. She loves dashing forwards and she has access to the ultimate, which gives a little bit of safety. And it means that this comp kind of gets to play in middle ground fairly well. SoftBank Hawks, though, now have the opportunity to create more of a cohesive comp. I really want to see what this team unites under. Now, picking that Aatrox would indicate that they're looking towards a potential pick comp. They can go for that front to back as well if they can get in a more one of these tanky supports. The Leona still available, very often picked in this kind of area.
Yeah, definitely. As they're really running down that clock before they pick up whatever they want Rhino on.
And could be the Rel as well, because Rhino has played a lot of Rel, but they offer Leo, which I think comfort, and you can see how this comp it's very skewed towards individual pick here. Not much team fighting opportunity outside of Leona, as you know, that huge solo flare alongside with Aatrox just finding walk forward. But because of how the comp and what they've drafted into, SoftBank Hawks have some difficulty to navigate a lot of the CC coming up from Burning Core. You see many different ways for disengage, disenabling, or damage threat, as well as pick-up points for Burning Core themselves. I'm struggling to see how SoftBank Hawks can navigate through this early game safely, as well as some of these early skirmishes. Now, on the flip side, though, especially with the Xayah build, the amount of raw damage coming out from SoftBank Hawks is very high. And if Burning Core aren't on point to really find these counter engages, it becomes very scary, as any member of Burning Core can be picked off very quickly.
Yeah, I was gonna say, right. I was really hoping for something a lot more tanky when it comes to the top lane. I'm hoping that Ray Farkey isn't gonna opt as much for this full AP, but rather like a more big boy kind of build. Because right now they only have the Nautilus to do that, and obviously, the Naut's always going to be somewhat tanky, but you definitely want a secondary tank who's going to be able to just get in there and just have that raw HP stats. And so Gragas is definitely going to be huge when it comes to doing that. And going to that Aatrox as well, got to be careful because, I mean, Aatrox is definitely a champ that you can just run away with the game if you get that 1 or 2 kills ahead.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, Gragas is a very lane neutralizing threat. Body Slam is just the most ridiculous trading tool, and it's really going to hope. I mean, this is Ray Farkey's most played champion. He's very comfortable on it. He's also looked very good on it. Dare I say, the best Gragas in the league. He has been very comfortable on using this champion not only as a lane neutral pick, really stops Aatrox from being able to find any credible lead outside of maybe some CS, but also he's used this explosive cast to make repeated fights. And in this game specifically, it functions as a very important tool because Kindred ulti has a lot of overall agency in this champion's kit, but also has a lot of flexibility in how it can be used. And specifically, if Burning Core aren't able to stop SoftBank HAWKS from getting into the Kindred ulti themselves, it just kind of creates neutrality for a couple of seconds before the fight continues. But Explosive Cask is the best tool to stop how this has worked. Gragas is often seen as a counter to Kindred, where you look in tandem with it instead, and suddenly Burning Core have all of the go buttons.
Yeah, I got a whole lot of go buttons indeed, and we did get the go button for the match as well as it is underway. We're in this thing looking at runes. What do we think? Spells as well. Anything interesting? Anything that piques your interest?
We are seeing. So I'm really happy Fuji went into that aftershock. We see obviously Reiner opting for the Galatian instead. So a bit of different goals coming in. I think both teams identify their own roles. Reiner knows there's a lot of damage coming up from Burning Core, whereas Fuji understands that he's going to have to be a bit more of a front line in this game. Very squishy comp overall, and especially Nautilus, not kind of one of the squishier tank supports that we've been seeing locked in, and going into the aftershock, stepping in at Libyan. Interestingly enough, Flawless opts for this solo is clear, and also knows that very likely Blank is going to be starting towards his bot side, and he really does want an early skirmish with this jungler. So pathing away from him instead, and I'm interested to see how Flawless actually opts into clear, if he's going to opt for a full clear, or if he's going to look for this 4 camp and maybe look for an early gank towards maybe these more vulnerable laners. We're seeing a little bit trading.
Yeah, indeed. Question is who's going to be coming out on top here with that glacial proc. Falcon can't really move too much, but he's just a tanky boy, so it doesn't matter too much to him. Yuhi going to take a little bit of damage as well. Looking at those power spikes. Yeah, you're already saying, oh, tell me why, please.
I love Blitzcrank. I think he's a really cool bot, but it does spell maybe how AIs work and how humans work instead, because it's sensing a little bit of back and forth in this early game, depending on different item spikes. And I think that's going to be really important to look towards, is who gets on them, who makes the first early skirmish, and who gets in the mythics first. Because I think actually these lanes are fairly net neutral. The big thing is Yuhi, obviously, on this nerf Jinx now, first couple of levels suffers from mana issues, which means that especially in Desire, which can be very lane focused alongside with this Leona, this could be a potential early bleeding point if Flawless doesn't path down and help support that lane.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we did see Yuhi grabbing that presence of mind as well. Going to try his best to hold on to as much mana as possible. And we've seen this top lane already. Ray Farkey slowly pushing in that wave. We saw those trades coming out and then just body slammed right into him. And it was like nothing even happened. Gonna have to wait and see. But that would open up a great opportunity for Blank to head up to that top lane and maybe grab Kinatsu that first kill.
One thing I love from DICE actually is that he's identified Ryze as having some notoriously good wave clear, and he's opted into Minion Dematerializer. So that, I mean, Ari now with the changes with that bonus damage on her Q way back when in the little mini rework she received, she now gets the opportunity to wave clear around level 7, level 8. But Minion Demat is going to help enable that even earlier. And also if she opts into a couple of melee minions as well, it means she's going to clear that wave even earlier. And it means that Ryze, he loves to just shove in the waves and just walk around the map. This can help DICE to match that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did see that Blank did head on into the top jungle. Flawless here, trying to get some vision, actually getting some vision down here, seeing what they can call out, get some information going. Information inequality is a huge thing, obviously, as RMC would say. So want to get as much info as you can. Bless that man's soul.
God, he's so smart, isn't he?
For real.
I love watching his cast. I like a new phrase I've stolen from him is the economy baron. The first baron you pick up, you use to unlock all those tier 2s. I love that phrase. It's been my catchphrase.
Economy baron.
Yeah. Very
Dude,
smart.
who
He's a
is
smart
this
boy.
guy? Oh my god. Bro, he's a caster, meta maker. That being said, though, in this top lane, a whole lot of stuff going down here. Ray Farkey looking for a bit of a trade onto Kanatsu. However, Flawless looking for something here. The ward is just going to get dropped. The wrong place, wrong time for Flawless. And so he will get spotted out. It's going to be for naught. And it said we'll have to back off.
Yeah, so Ray Fucky was finding some early good trades with this wave shot, but as it's come back to him, Aatrox is starting to bully him out a little bit, and I think this will be the case. Both of these champions really spike in lane around that level 8, level 9 mark, max points in Q and E respectively, so we're going to be seeing how each lane... I honestly am excited to see if there's going to be any bleeding in this lane. I think Greg is a notorious lane neutralizer, but against Aatrox, who's so good at picking off range threats, means that...
yeah.
Yes, I'm into it. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, indeed. As far as here, might just end up running into Blank. Might see a bit of a conundrum here as Dasher is with him there as well, but gonna opt to not try to do anything just yet. Gonna wait him out a little bit longer. Now we do see the first dragon is up, and at the moment, looking like Flawless gonna go ahead and he's finishing up those raptors, and then maybe the move is to head on down bot, try and grab that drag.
And something interesting from Yuhi, opted for a Cole. Now, I don't know if this was a Cole start or if he started sword and triple pot. My eyes were not paying attention. But nonetheless, because of this tier start from Side, she spends about 400 gold to pick up something that's relatively scaling. Well, Yuhi's opted into the same. And I like it. I love Cole, actually. But into this lane, it does delay that first mythic by around 450 gold. And we already noticed that Blitzcrank bot was very eager to show that there's going to be a lot of back and forth in the early game, depending on item spikes. And I think delaying that, especially with this Nautilus as well, and the amount of damage overall coming from this comp could be really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. Gonna have to wait and see how that does end up playing out. And we see Flawless grabbing that skull crab, and already the most parts of the team here are converging into this river. Both getting pretty hungry for that first dragon. Top lane, meanwhile, they're just doing top laner things. They're just minding their own business, right? Nothing really going on there. They're just gonna do what they got to do. As bot lane is fighting for control over prio here of this lane. We're gonna have to wait and see though.
Top lane matchup is actually quite an exciting one to watch because Kanatu was such a big force last split, and combining that with Rayfark, he's looked incredibly dominant this split. And Kanatu also having a really brilliant uplift on their more recent games as well, means that we get kind of the two more consistent top laners of this. Well, I shouldn't say that because we've obviously got the likes of Ebby and Force as a big engagers found in the bot side.
Yes, indeed. The fight is kind of split off at the moment. Blank. I don't know what that was, but that just kind of happened. Used the Heartbreaker to get over the wall. I guess was expecting the flash to come out from Yuhi, but no avail. Yuhi will escape with his life and out Marble. Terrible spot. However, first blood will still be found. Meantime, though, Kindred gonna pick up that first kill onto Marbles. That could be huge. Rhina trying his best, doing a lot of damage. Down goes Fujimoto, however. He's gonna get that reset. We're gonna try and get on the Flawless here. Has so much movement speed because of the Maw, and that's the Heartbreaker. And there we go. That's that counter ultimate we were coming out, but it's gonna be too little, too late. Flashing over the wall. The Dance of Arrows to get as much distance as they can. Might just get out of this one. One more auto attack will seal the deal. Can Flawless run fast enough? He is running for his life, but it does not matter. We'll still go down to Dasher ultimately.
And a 3-for-1 for SoftBank HAWKS. It looked a little bit sketchy there as Blank maybe overreading Yuhi's pathing a little bit. And even though Burning Core had the first rotate, Dasher was on point to make sure this is a successful fight. And this is really the main issue with Burning Core here. Is that Yuhi is split off from Fuji completely. So Fuji is playing on the back foot. Yuhi is very low. So whilst number advantage is in the side of Burning Core, the two key members for this early skirmish are out of the fight. Dice is also chunked as well. All of this HP is depleted from Burning Core, and Dasher, big point here. Look at that.
Yeah.
Summoner spells coming in clutch as he flash ignites the Jinx combined with the Q to pick up the kill straight into the Realm Warp, making sure the successful fight. Huge from Dasher to ensure a successful fight for this early skirmish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just the movement speed that's also coming out from that mist as well, allowing Flawless to be caught up onto by Blank and outland that hook. And then we did see that ultimate outplay that we were talking about that we're going to be seeing coming down a few times, where you drop that Lamb's Respite, which allows you to block the Heartbreaker's damage coming out. Obviously, at the end of the day, though, wasn't really too many places that Flawless could actually run off to and will be taken out at the end of the day. But still interesting to see.
They burned a lot of tempo for that play to lose out, but they're straight back on the forward foot. They've done a lane swap which I really, really like. It means that you know that SoftBank HAWKS have grabbed that lead in the bot side. They want to find some advantage. They find it here. And Kanati's burning the ult. He's looking for Fuji. But remember, all the players are top side.
Indeed. The world ender has been popped, but it's looking like his world is going to be the only one that is ended at this point, because he is going to go down, not going to get much damage out, going out with a whimper rather than a bang.
Yeah, a little bit of a misstep from Kanati means that they're going to immediately, after picking up this Herald and they pulled all of the members of SoftBank top lane just to pick up a single kill. And yes, very well handled. Bunnycore still, though, in deficit, 1.3k. And Kindred, especially when it starts to fall behind, we're going to have a big eyes on Flawless and how we can navigate here, because as soon as Kindred fall behind, it becomes incredibly difficult for this champion to play the game correctly. It's very easy for invade angles, especially because of Leona having so much priority on roam time, especially into this Nautilus matchup, a little bit favored in the early game towards that Leona. So could become very difficult for the Kindred if it does fall behind further.
Yeah, not only that, also just those kill stacks. I don't think that Flawless has switched from marking blank since the start of the game, and so that's going to be quite detrimental. There's only one kill under their belt. Really going to be really relying on those stacks in the jungle. It's up to get that passive marks up. Gonna have to wait and see. It's like you're saying, right? Once Flawless does start falling behind, it's incredibly hard as a Kindred to actually get back into the game and get back to a useful state.
In return, though, he's actually managed to navigate lane fairly cleanly. Picked up a kill of himself in that bot side, in that top side skirmish even. And by and large, even CS, Cole is halfway done already. I think I'd be really happy with how Yuhi is coming into this mid game. Obviously, though, Marble is on this side. And the lethality build has just been the only build that people seem to be opting towards. There's been some conversation around maybe getting some crit mixed in there as well, because she did receive some changes recently that could allow for that. But most of the time we're seeing this, you see the Eclipse into the Mirror Mana, then the Seroldo's Grudge, a very quick and hard spiking curve that people really opt onto, because it just enables your mid game fights to play oh so cleanly. And I think HAWKS have identified that. They're looking for the first strike here.
Yeah, about time, really. 11 minutes in, looking for that first dragon. Flawless also on his way down. We do see the Hex flash coming out from Fujimoto. Nothing really, just flashing in place in the bush there. Gonna try and see if they can find anything. So if they're coming out, they don't know that Flawless is in that bush yet. He's really biding his time, waiting to see who's all gonna pull up to the party. And now they're there. They're looking to send it. Rhina going in, and there we go. A very nice Lamb's Respite to dodge that Heartbreaker damage, but it doesn't even matter because the Rise is here too. Dasher just hits too hard. They will get a pick on Yuhi, but that's about all they're gonna find.
And Dasher finding roam timings within this lane is so important for the success of SoftBank HAWKS. We can see that it looks really good for a second. Burning Cord, that Lamb's Respite coming in to stop that Heartbreaker. Really big play. Unfortunately, so was Dasher coming in with that ultimate to make sure that the fight numbers are for his success. The Rune Prison comes down. Yuhi cannot move, and he gets picked off there for free, and it really stops. Remember, Flawless spent all this time around bot side to gain nothing for that, as well as burn the ultimate.
Yeah. The only thing that could have been worse is they dropped the Rift Trail down there. So at the very least, they didn't do that. So they still have the Rift Trail in their hands.
He's on a very swift timer for it, though, because look at how much time he has left before it's going. He's immediately running mid to try and see if he can get that summon before it runs out. So hopefully Flawless can get a decent summon coming in, because they put all that time as well into that lane rotation to secure this Herald. It needs to be used properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't just be placing it down and having it crash once, and so much damage coming out the hook. Not quite going to find its mark. And now Dice is in a peculiar position right now. Incredibly low, less than half, slowly healing up. Needs to be careful. They did drop that Rift Toad down. Is going to crash in that turret, but that gold is going to be split quite a few ways if they're not careful. Luckily, though, they're all going to back off. So 160 into the pockets of Dice and Flawless.
But you have to ask how much it's worth, because in return, HAWKS got that shove in the top side, all of that CS, as well as a plate that goes over to Kanati. On top of that, Marble gets complete authority over this lane state now, and I'm assuming this is going to be a slow push into a quick shove to get the next 30 seconds of our game set up. And we see the Eclipse already picked up by Marble here. And after this point onwards, becomes very Xayah favored in these early skirmishes.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Jinx also only sitting on the Nuke River at the moment, that's just so much raw damage that he's not quite going to be having there at the moment. You can see he's scared to push it up to the turret. It's got more than still 2 blades. Yeah, wow. Pulls the blades back, the feathers back, and they feel like blades, I'm sure, to Yuhi, because they cut real hard there. Mew on this mid lane. We do see the Everfrost proc coming now.
God.
So close. Dice almost going down. Can't quite find the damage that Dasher needs, though.
Yeah, tempo definitely favoring the if SoftBank HAWKS, and you can see it there. This is really the tell for how effective that Herald was there. All of those times spent not only picking up the Herald, and this is why you see a lot of people critique some Herald takeage. They spent all this time taking the Herald, then they pump all this time again into throwing it mid lane. They pick up 2 plates, and in return, SoftBank HAWKS with correct wave control as well as priority in their own lanes, pick up more total gold from those plates in general. Very unfortunate for Burning Core, and this is what has led to their 1k deficit now. Now, 1k deficit, very little at 15 minutes in the game, but you can see really where it's showing right now, all in that mid lane. Dasher is the priority player right now. He's showing it in lane, and he's going to be spiking very, very hard coming to mid game, which is really important because Marble in a lane neutral state spikes harder anyway because of how the build works. These items spike harder within the early to mid game. So that really benefits Dash is getting all this gold now. Just going to mean that that curve is going to be so much easier for HAWKS to play through.
Yeah, we do see also Kinatsu looking to actually follow in Evi's footsteps here. Picked up that hull breaker, going to be that split push, a menace. You can already see him.
Interesting. Okay. That is a choice that he has made. And I think it must be because he knows that he's going to be stuck inside lane. I think getting Rayfarki out of these team fights specifically to stop that combination that we saw, the Lamb's Respite into the Explosive Cask that we've alluded to so far. If you lock Rayfarki into side lane, that combination doesn't become available anymore. And it means that Blank and Reiner get to play as aggressively as they want.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, we really haven't been able to see Rayfarki in any of these fights. It's more just been these kind of 3 to 4 man scuffles. Now with the empowered teleport being available, we might get to see him have a chance of moving into these fights, but we're going to have to wait and see because if, like you're saying, right, if that split push threat from Kinatsu is just ever present, someone has to be up there to match. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at your base and your whole top side is just going to be missing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Unless teleport now available, and Burning Core definitely aren't. It's not game over for them, for sure. Only a 1k deficit, or I guess to say more like a 2k deficit at this point in the game as that first target got picked up in top side. So not a huge deal on it. Kanatu's moved down for the first rotate.
It's getting close. Solar Flare does land. They're looking to find a kill deficit as well as they're sending everything they got right now incredibly low. Not quite going to go down. Will go down. They'll find that kill for Flawless here. Cool. Indeed. They're looking to turn things around. Blank, trying to find something, but can't quite find anything. So the Rift Arrow does crash into the turret. That's about all they're going to find though at the moment. They only lose Reina, and that's a huge tank off the board for them. The hook does land onto Dasher, but is going to cleanse, and so we'll get out of that one alive. Trying their best. Lamb's Respite has been popped, so now we have this kind of awkward low where we're all dancing around, and Kinatsu incredibly low, just barely going to get out of that one. The charm lands, and it's huge. Marble going to pop the ultimate. They'll go and more. We're going to go ahead and call the plays back, doing so much damage, but the Super Mega Death Rock will find Blank. He's going blank. His brain is at least as he's been just splattered of the pavement. Dice with the flash charm. Everfrost not quite gonna get it though, and so ultimately they will find 2 members and they will find this dragon.
Yeah, that final pickoff was really key there for Burning Core to take this Drake. A very back and forth fight here, and I think the real breakdown here is that they got the first kill, and this really sets up the rest of the play here. We're seeing a lot of skirmishing, but Reiner here getting picked up right at the start. You noted it there. A key tank for this team, and also a key facilitator for them to go forwards. Really, that HP bar is so necessary for Marble and Dasher to play these fights out, and it shows in its head here. Dasher has to play 2 up front. This hook comes in, and it really sets the rest of HAWKS on the back foot. We see Kanatu really trying to create space, and he almost does so, but Lance Spite is such an important tool. Well played from Burning Core.
Absolutely. And also Dasher's spellbook just really coming in clutch there, right? Giving him the exhaust that he needed. Without that, might have just found himself out on the gray screen. And there it is. That Super Mega Death Rocket. Very nicely placed, taking out Blank. But now we see Kinatsu once again taking out another turret. He's just being that split push threat.
Yeah, this Hullbreaker is working out quite well. Surprisingly, working out quite well for him. I don't know how I feel about Hullbreaker Aatrox. I'm going to keep it in my notepad for now, and we'll talk about it after the game ends, perhaps.
Depending on how it goes, we'll talk about it. If it didn't go well, we're just gonna glance over it.
I'll just have the benefit of hindsight. I only can say, yeah, it was really good here. Oh, this is a terrible third chase, just depending on how the game goes. That's how it feels right now.
Yeah, for real. That being said, though, mid tier 1 is going down from the side here of the Hawks, so that's going to be a little more gold going into Burning Core's favor. They're trying their best to sort of minimize that gold deficit. They're getting closer to closing it, but still a little bit of gold to go as they're about to lose this mid tier 1, and that's going to set them behind once again.
Yeah, they lose the mid lane tier 1, which means, but they have neutralized that you do mention, and you're right, it's 1k now down, and remember this is 1k down at 90 minutes rather than 2k at 15. Definitely a smaller and smaller gap, and they did have to burn the TP from Dasher as well, which may set up DICE for some side lane shenanigans to maybe set Burnicore up for and the next successful fight, which is really going to be around either potentially the Baron or more likely this next Drake, which is coming up in about 2 minutes now.
Yeah, definitely have to wait and see what ends up happening. Yuhi as well, slowly he's trying his best to close that farm gap as well. Does have that Kraken Slayer now, has opted for that rather than a Gale Force. Do you think that's the move, seeing as the champs that are on the side of the Hawks, or is this just you got to have that raw damage at this point?
I'm assuming it's because of the lockdown from SoftBank HAWKS being very specifically, other than some of the CC coming from this bot side, remember Rune Prison, so frustrating to deal with as an AD carry. He maybe sees that, and he sees also the follow-up lockdown and how much lockdown there is, and goes, well, if I'm getting caught, I don't think a Gale Force is going to save me here. So he's opted into the Kraken. I don't know how to feel about it at the moment. I feel like Gale Force, especially against Marble and Reiner's combination of CC, can be so impactful, especially from getting away from Kanata. Creating space against the champion is so important. Now, they're trading the boss side, and Blank's here for the support.
Yeah, not quite going to find anything, though. Flawless was on his way down as well, just in case something, a bit of an altercation did end up happening, but nothing coming out of it just yet. Mountain's Drag is going to be up in a minute 40, so I'm assuming that's when we're really going to see our next fight going down here.
One thing I really would love to see is how many stacks Flawless is on, because this really dictates the pace of this champion more so than itemization. You want to see how many stacks he's on. If he's getting, the first 3 or the first 6 stacks, getting that range increase is so big for this champion to make sure he can function in team fights. Going to keep eyes on him, how Flawless has managed to continue these fights, because that last Lamb's Roar split was very good, and Flawless specifically as a player has looked like he's very good on some of these key carry threats, but then when he's put on something with a little bit more utility, especially that Lee Sin from Monday,
looking for some kind of an engage.
It's scary sitting here.
Indeed, it is. We're not even playing, and already I'm starting to sweat, to say the least. But Flawless opting to jump in. It's like you were saying, right? That Kindred, a champion that likes to kind of jump forward, get a little bit of damage out with that mounting dread as well. Can get that triple proc, do a whole lot of damage. But yeah, I would like to see Flawless's decks as well, because I swear I have not seen him change targets since he first marked Blank at the start of this game. I always see the little Blank icon above his head, so I don't know what's going on with that. Blank has only died once, so I'm a little worried he's not getting a lot of stacks from kills here.
Something I remember when Kindred first came out, and the Kindred subreddit was something that was quite popular at the time, was that just mark whoever's died the most. And right now you're seeing Reiner and Blank are the biggest dive targets, and Reiner also the squishiest dive target as well. Just chuck a mark his way. See if you're going to fish for that. I mean, he may have marked him already, so this is with a pinch of salt, obviously, but you know that Reiner is going to be your primary first kill target. Look towards that instead. But anyway, we see this is very cheeky. Now, Burning Core throughout this game, something I haven't noted yet, I've actually been pretty much on the head of Vision. They've concretely created areas of deficit with their pink wards, and we see it showing its head there. Triple pink down in bot side, covering all jungle points as well as dragon itself, means that SoftBank HAWKS had no idea this dragon was to be taken, and it means Yuhi gets to solo take it, return straight to bot side, get a reset in, right in time for his second item, and it sets him up for second Drake as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was also just some great communication and team play coming out from the side of Burning Core. They're like, yo, y'all just chill up in that top kind of river area, right? Apply some pressure there, make it look like we're looking for something. I'll just be chilling here in the bot lane and grabbing this dragon. We have vision basically everywhere on the map, so if anyone's even remotely close to the pit, I'll know and I can back off.
Yeah, these zombie wards are doing God's work at the moment. Every single time Fuji places a ward, after it expires, you get that little zombie ward, and it just gives you so much extended vision that it means he only really needs to plant vision temporarily in some of these more defensive zones for him. That zombie ward maintains, just like Blue Trinket, until somebody walks in there, and it's really tricky for Hawks to walk into these zones, and it's showing here because red side vision has been so strong. Finally gets eked out a little bit now, though, as Kanatu's overeager on the bot side, and Flawless is moving down.
Yeah, indeed. They do know that he is on his own just with the amount of vision control that they have.
Well, did he not show on that ping?
I don't think he did, because Kinatsu thinking that he might just be taking a fight here. The body slam followed by the exploded flag. Yep, indeed. World Ender did get popped here. Now Kinatsu running for his life. Going to try and heal up as much as he can on top of Flawless here. But Flawless dashing, jumping, skipping, and hopping around him like it's nothing, and going to go ahead and grab that kill on Kinatsu. That is absolutely huge. Meanwhile, his team is trying their best to get this Baron, but I don't know if they can get it. A whole lot of damage coming out. The Solar Flare following as well. Dice doing his best to do as much damage as he can. The Spirit Rush, indeed. Gonna rush down a Blank. Gonna look to get you. He will just barely get out of that one alive, and instead will grab Marble. And he will get out.
Huge win for Burning Core. They pick off 2 more members. Fantastic. It's just unfortunate for SoftBank Hawks as they make a really big flub in macro. Kanato overstepping in the side lanes. This Baron being stanced for, but not being checked into hard enough. They don't have the DPS. This is not AD carry Xayah. This is penetration Xayah. You don't have the amount of full damage to come out, especially with this tank build coming in for Rise. They aren't able to pick it off quick enough and get aptly punished by Burning Core. A huge win for this team as they're coming to this game. Suddenly, first time, 2k gold lead, biggest speed bonus. Now they get to play through this Baron.
Yeah, absolutely. Things were looking pretty bad. Well, not bad for them necessarily, but yeah, you see this already. They're looking to move in here. They see that Ryan is incredibly low. The Spirit Rush getting right in, followed up by the Solar Flare, but it only hits Dice. So Dice is just able to get a little more damage in. Yuhi is on the back line, and just look at all that burst coming out. And meanwhile, Yuhi trying to do as much damage as he can. It flashes to get away and just barely escapes, and that allows the rest of Burning Core to actually just collapse on top of Marble and just take him out.
And Dice's pathing there was oh so clean. He pulled HP aggro. He used the flash to dodge Xayah's secondary burst after he picked off Blank. So good on this Ahri. And this Horizon focus really dictates how he's trying to play these fights. Ulti in, find a single charm on any member of SG, and look to pick that off.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got that blinding Jew as well, right? So going to be building that void staff, that penetration build, like you call it so much. They're really looking for it, looking for that amount of damage so they can just burst someone out of existence instantly. And if things are going wrong, they can always fall back onto Flawless's Lamp's Respite to kind of get them out of trouble.
And Directcam showing us where Kanatu is at the moment. I'm surprised that they haven't chucked Rayfaki or Dice to try and deal with this. He's on an inhibitor now, and I think a bit of trading happening now. Rayfaki does get the reset, but this turret are already so low. I feel like Kanatu can just commit to this. I mean, he doesn't know where the rest of the members of Burning Core are, so the turret lives in just a sliver. But look at all the space that Burning Core have got in return. Now it's up to them to walk into this Dragon Pit as SoftBank Hawks are taking a firm grasp on the vision finally for the first time in this game, right around this Drake, right around 4th Drake as well.
Yeah, you already know it's only going to be like 1 minute though before Kanatsu shows back up in that bot lane and grabs that turret. So really only delaying the inevitable. And it was a bit strange to see that no one matched him sooner, seeing as they had a lot of vision on him. That is unfortunate though. The Solar Flare and the Spectrum Maw both not quite going to find their target onto Flawless. We're trying to take them out as soon as possible so that there's absolutely no possibility that a Smite Steal can occur, but not going to find that. So instead, they're going to have to opt to give over river control to the side of Burning Core. Ooh, looking to find something here. The hook didn't quite land and hit the mark, so Lance Respite will be dropping. Aatrox was just outside of it, so he does go down, and that is absolutely huge. But a very nice ultimate coming out from Marble. Will die, though, in the process, trying his best to get some damage down. Only ends up finding Fujimoto, and that is huge. And they're going like, you know what? Yeah, we'll just send Flawless to take care of Dragon. The rest of us just go ahead and push.
Absolutely, they want to get the most efficient kind of post-fight advantage as possible. They're going to chuck 2 in the mid lane, 1 in bot side as well, as also leave Flawless to pick up this 3rd Drake of the game, and it puts him towards Solar's. Yuhi gets excited and Yeah, pick up these 2 remaining tier 2s. The economy baron coming in full force there.
Yeah, absolutely. Their economy is booming right now. Makes you wonder when the crash is coming, but hopefully it's not anytime soon, at least in this game, because right now Burning Core have been able to just flip the tables, turn the tides, and they're looking real good. They were at a constant 1K deficit. Now they're sitting pretty on this gold, and now we get to see this fight. Oh, please tell me, how did this work out for them?
It's just Burning Core being on the first objective, and then look at this disruption coming up from HAWKS here specifically. Plus the Lamb's Respite means that basically SoftBank HAWKS don't get to play the way they want. Marble is never engaged upon up until the end before the other members are locked out, which means he immediately gets bursted out. Really, shout out to HAWKS there for playing that fight immaculately. Disruption plus the ulti to make a fantastic pick right at the end. Very well played, and yeah, leads them into 2 turrets. They get the soul point as well, another win condition for them if they choose to look towards it. And now you're left thinking, okay, well, how can SoftBanks find a return in this game? We're seeing that goal difference so started right as the 25-minute mark hits, right as Jinx, funnily enough, hits 3 items. Who could have seen this coming?
What? What? You're telling me that he did that? Oh my god. Yeah, that means that the dasher needs to be careful. Oh no, does get hit by the charm, and that could definitely be huge, but so much damage still coming out from Marble and Dasher. They are not a force to be reckoned with. Dice definitely getting hit with the reality check right there that you may do a lot of damage, but so does the side of SoftBank HAWKS Gaming. And speaking of that, Kinatsu, once again, he's that split push threat. Opting, though, he did see those back, so doesn't want to risk anything, but is helping to kind of alleviate some of the pressure that's coming up from these side lanes.
Pick up for Kanata as well as his death stance. Now, it's up to SoftBank HAWKS to find an effective target within the next fight. And it's so tricky considering the tools that Burning Core have. But if they are able to pick off any individual member of Burning Core before a fight starts as an individual pick, or in the fight, if they're able to find enough disruption to pick off Fuji or Flawless before they can use their own ultimates in return, that's a big turnaround for this team. They definitely have the tools to do so. You can see Dasher specifically. Look at his itemization. It's a very common thing nowadays, but this build is very, very focused around a medium amount of damage, a medium amount of tank, well, I say a high amount of tankiness, and focusing solely through this usage of the Rune Prison to pick off individual members. Combine that with this wave shove, as well as a little bit of a vision control net around this tri-bush, it means that Burning Core member, very squishy still now, could be picked off as Dice is pushing in this wave.
Yeah, Dice sensing something might just be off there. Yeah, sensing something in the water. They're going to go ahead and back off. They were looking, they did mark Dice for death, looking to see if they could get the kill on that, but nothing quite going to come out of that. And the Kindred actually opting for the Titanic Hydra. This is such a strange build. I do not see this very commonly.
I mean, very akin to the Zeri build, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, a different mythic coming in this time will be that, and it's obviously specifically targeted towards Burning Core. They know the target. Oh, it's huge!
My, they found it. Indeed, it is huge, and they are just going to shut down Dice. Nothing Dice could do, and now
they go
look
straight
at that.
towards the Baron.
Yeah, they go straight to Baron, and because look at that death timer, 50 whole seconds on the clock, a good minute that Dice is going to be out of the fight, and Dice is one of their biggest engagers. Maybe they can catch on Marble here, though. This might be huge, though. Oh, yep, they do find Marble indeed, and they're going to send everything they got. The Blaze Thrower coming out, but it doesn't even matter. Too much damage. Marble will go down, and just like that, they turn the fight around. They get another kill. Looking to make it 3. Can they make it 4 here on Dasher? Gonna use that blast go to get over the wall. Yuhi looking around now. The TP coming out. Can they hit the hook? They'll hit it indeed. And he will go gold, but where will you go when it's over? Into the ground. And just like that, Burning Core, they turn it around. The vision difference, the information inequality strikes yet again. And they're going to get themselves that free Baron as well.
And Marble just fumbles the bag so incredibly hard. Burning Core are very quick to make that punish onto Marble there. In return, they get the successful fight. They lead into the Baron as well, and it's right on timer, not only for this soul. And this is the key play. This was fantastic from HAWKS. This is exactly what we were talking about, right? Individual pick, and that in turn can lead straight towards his Baron. But look at the positioning from Marble here. He's so eager to get onto the Baron to support his team, and that he thinks he has all the vision there because of this pixel bush being warded, but he doesn't see Fuji in that fog of war. Pick comes up first, and HAWKS get lost. They have to defend that AD carry. This splits them up completely. This explosive cask stuns Kanatu for a full 2 seconds. Then basically Flawless and Yuhi get to play the game finally. They just walk forwards, run them down, and there's not really much SoftBank HAWKS can do about it. Now this Baron's going to get picked up. They go straight towards this Soul as well in this Mountain Drake, and we see Fuji and Yuhi are going to stance very aggressively. They don't want this contested. Alongside that, Dice and Rayfark are playing very smart. They're going to maintain in these lanes because immediately after this Soul, they want to unlock these inhibitors to restrict Kanato from continuing what he's been doing all game, which is just his constant split push.
Yeah, absolutely. The saddest thing is that if Marbles had just entered that bush just a second later, he might have not even been spotted out because that ward, a new controller had just been placed and it was still in the process of dying. So they still had vision in that bush and they were quick, like you were saying, to capitalize on that and punish them. And speaking of punishing, they might just try to punish Blank the fact that they got that hook in.
Oh, it's so big.
Oh, that is huge. The charm coming in, too cute to ignore. And they are going to grab that kill onto Blank. Looking to follow things up with Marble. Going to have to drop the ultimate. So will the Lamb's Rest by actually saving Flawless's life. I do believe got dropped incredibly low. Now Yuhi looking for those resets. Won't quite find it though. A lot of damage coming out though.
Another charm.
Yeah, another charm lands. However, though, it doesn't even matter for anyone on the side here of SHG as they are just being decimated in their own base. They're, oh, come on. They really, you don't got to do them like that. They send it into the base and they ended it with that burning core. Are able to turn things around. Looking shaky at the start, but they prevail.
And I feel so smart right now because it's almost exactly like we talked about this in pre-game. As soon as Flawless get on their own roles, which is Dice being this initiating a mid laner, we get Flawless on a carry. Rayfarky looks even better because of it. And they all three of them played in tandem with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, so well. Once mid-game hit, it looks so hard for HAWKS to make these picks. And then Jinx 3 item hits. And from that point, HAWKS weren't able to make any more proactive plays. The amount of disengage and disruption from Burning Core was much too high, and they basically got picked apart from that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no clue how J Real is going to manage to make some kind of a bird analogy for this one, but we'll have to wait and see. So we'll throw it to a tiny short break, and then when we're back, we'll be back on the desk and talk about this game. Don't go anywhere.
We are back to break down the final game. I said with the HAWKS learn fly. They definitely didn't learn aerial ace because they didn't pick any of those up in this game. They came in with brave bird, but It was Bernie Core that channeled the Blaziken energy. The fighting type just came a bit too strong, and they singed the feathers straight off of the Hawks. And all in all, I think that it's just kind of the story of Hawks this season. I think they started off good, and I think that's where we should start. You know, it's not all bad for them. I think the early game for them, they found some picks. They managed to get some early leads. Echo, were you feeling confident about the Hawks after they picked up like 3 kills at the start?
I mean, they were definitely putting up a good performance, right? And also they had some very interesting ideas, especially with the split push Aatrox hull breaker there. I think that kind of caught us off guard a little bit. We definitely weren't expecting that. And to some extent, it was kind of working out. Then he ended up getting caught out every now and then because the vision diff, like it was vision diff. Not even gonna lie, over from Burning Core. They had some great wards down. They constantly knew where to move and when to move. And so they were able to just catch out some of these members. So it was looking good, but I always had faith in Burning Core.
Yeah, Burning Core managed to stabilize it quite well. It just felt like they kind of knew how to play the game. They were very ready to play their game, and they did as such. I think the Kindred pick was really nice. They were able to find a lot of picks across the board. And talking about picks, we have to talk about it. You know, 25 minutes in, they go to make the pick on Aatrox. Things look good. Baron over to the Hawks. What went wrong, Oak? What happened? Why could they not convert that into a buff?
They set themselves up for what they thought was the larger macro play, but they didn't really understand the reality of their DPS check, basically. So okay, you get the split pushing Aatrox. Is the hull breaker start? It's the pull the pressure Aatrox, right? That should burn you so much time that SoftBank holds go immediately as soon as Kindred shows or 2 members show. Bam, Baron time. This should come in pair with somebody who can force high DPS on the Baron. It's a very early Baron, remember. It's like 22, 23 minutes. The build isn't in position for that. The Rise obviously opting in for that. I forgot what it's called now. The Fimble Winter Second. The Desire is on the lethality build, which means whilst it has a lot of burst point, actual effective DPS is going to be lower than if she's on that crit build. And it means they aren't able to get onto this Baron quick enough. Combine that with them just not being there immediately on the Baron is really the big fumble. And that in turn leads to, yes, a very ridiculous to watch Baron fumble. Burning Core pick up the pace, and they get themselves so much in return for that. And that's really when the game turned on its head.
Yeah, and you talked about this Aatrox build a little bit in the game. On reflection, now you have the hindsight. What are your final thoughts on the whole Aatrox build?
I'm gonna go supporting for it. I think it was decent. It was fine. The problem is when you don't go for the Gore Drink, and we saw it around this dragon fight as well, is that because you didn't get that mythic first, you don't get access to team fighting Aatrox. You have access to split pushing Aatrox instead, which is going to be weak in these team fights. And I think it did actually also show a little bit there as well. When you go for this build, you really need to commit, and that's why it's best served on something like the Tryndamere, which doesn't want to group. Aatrox wants to group. Aatrox wants to team fight. It's an AoE team fighter like Bruiser, you know, that's where he wants to be. He wants to be walking forwards. That build hurt him a little bit, and that's really where I'd critique it.
And then obviously it felt like once the Baron was kind of taken, the Hawks didn't really have a way back. They tried to roost, they tried to heal up, but it just never really went their way. And Burning Core, they just picked up the fire. You know, they had the embers going early on. They turned it into a flamethrower. And then later down the line, another good pick from the Hawks, but it doesn't go their way. Burning Core coming up to set up that second Baron. And Echo, do you feel like Burning Core just kind of unlocked their team fighting potential right now?
They're definitely looking pretty good right now with that vision combination as well. And I feel like I'm sure this is something that Oak is going to want to talk about a lot more, but everyone kind of knew what role they had to play, and they executed it. Maybe not perfectly, definitely some shaky moments here and there, but they executed it quite nicely. And so because of that, that's why their team play was looking so strong. The moment they saw kind of any mistake coming out from the side of HAWKS, they were like, get on that, make them pay for that. And then that all ultimately kind of led to the win.
Yeah, and I want to hear a bit more about the role to play stuff from Oak, because I think that is a good way to look at League of Legends, and I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, that players can, especially this new Rise build, is also something really good to look at because it is a change in role style. You're not being a carry anymore, you're being a facilitator for your team. And I think this is where Flawless and Dice really work well with best of the team. And also where Ray Farkey comes in as a standout member of this specific game, and in general how so far he's looked on Gragos. I've been very much enjoying it, is that Flawless looks really good on carries, and this can be kind of tough to draft into when the current meta is definitely opting towards more of these the Hekarims, the Zinzaos that maybe has fallen off a little bit now, but these are the picks that you really want to see. In return, he's opting to stuff like the Kindred. So it becomes mid lane's role to be the facilitator for your team. And when Dice pairs up really well with this, I think the Yasuo Diana was the big one, right? But it works really well here too. He was the facilitator for the early picks. You pair that with the carry, who's coming out really clean from Flawless, and then Ray Farkey gets to play his role also well, which is just disruption and pick off in tandem with his team. They look so damn good, and this is where I want to see Burning Core in the rest of the season. I want to see them playing this kind of style of gameplay, and if it means you need to alter draft it even more, like this Kindred pick, I'm all down for it.
Yeah, hopefully indeed. For the Hawks, hopefully they let go of Gust so they stop blowing away their chances of winning these games. And let's look at the rest of the day before we finish off on that match. Obviously, Sengoku there picking up the win against V3 was a little bit shaky. We'll say obviously a lot of question marks around their early game. Russell Jester's Axis again a little bit shaky from the Jesters. It's kind of mixed for me because I feel like I don't know how much you guys saw of that game, but Russell Jester's combined both making bad plays and making good plays at the same time, and overall it kind of went well for them. But they also could have definitely got punished if they were playing someone like DFM. Do you guys have any takes on either of those first two games being a little bit shaky from those two teams?
I think the V3 one specifically stuck out to me as a big Sengoku fan was that it just lasted too long. When you're meant to be a top 3 team, games cannot last this long, especially against not even just V3, but lower ladder opponents in general. And it does show maybe some rocky foundations for this team, and it does puts a little bit of worry in my heart. I'm not gonna lie. I want this team to contest DFM for potentially first place. I want it to be handily beating Rascal Jester. When you make mistakes like this and you extend game time too long, and you get the opportunity for late game scaling to come into it and all these other variables, that's not a good thing. And
for you, Echo, any takes on Russell Jesters, how they performed this morning?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was still kind of in that phase. I'm not even gonna lie, I was like waking up, so it's like I'm like RMC's like he's telling me the numbers, it's going in, but it's not being processed, and I'm like,
I think for me it was just Sangchu who looked like, again, really good. Like I think I at least from what I can remember, Sangchu had a decent showing that game. There were moments where it's like, oh hey, Sangchu's still a good AD carry even in the mess that is Axis. And obviously Yellow Yoshi popping back in again, say hi on the Camille before inevitably being well, I shouldn't say inevitably, but being handed a retirement notice once again.
Yeah, CJ DFM was the next game up, and obviously DFM just did DFM things. I think CJ looked a bit better, so that is a hopeful look for them in playoffs. I think there is definitely a little bit of momentum for them. Obviously, DFM is kind of being the raid boss they always are. And then obviously we finished off with this game, which was Burning Core versus the Hawks. The Hawks weren't able to extinguish the fires that is the Burning Core. Rock does be flying. It is what it is, and their core is strong. Going into this game that I like to play, obviously, Oak, you've played this game many a time with me. Echo, this will be your first time. It is time for Mess or Impress. It can be a player or a team. We'll start with Oak because he's done this one before, but who is your Mess, who is your Impress for today?
I think my mess is... I'm going to grab both of my games because I know you like to do this to teams. I'm going to do this to players. My mess was Kaito on the Syndra. His most played champion in the split. He looked lost, unfortunately. Wasn't entirely his fault, but nonetheless, when you pick this Syndra, you got to be getting some pressure in, especially around that level 9 point. It was missing within that game and really spelled doom for CGA as a whole. And then my Impress is Ray Farkey, who... I said it in my list yesterday, but top 3 top laners at the moment, and really is pivotal for this team's success. You saw it there, multiple explosive growths to really find the most amazing individual picks, as well as split apart this team and really spell success for not for SoftBank at least.
And for you, Echo, who was your Mess and who was your Impress today?
I gotta say as well for me that my mess probably would also have to be Kaito, just because we were talking about how strong that Syndra pick is supposed to be, right? It's one of those like main champs, and then you kind of still fumble the bag like that. Like that cannot be I'm gonna just keep it real. Like you cannot let that be happening to you.
No, you're right. Yeah,
that was definitely a bit of a mess for me. And as for my impress, I'd probably have to give it to I don't know if I want to give it to Dice or if I want to give it to Flawless.
No, Dice is. If I was going to choose between the two, Dice hit some
Yeah.
charms.
Yeah, because Dice hit some crazy charms, and it's like we were saying, right? We want Flawless to. It's like we wanted Flawless to be on more of like a carry kind of role, and then let Dice be the facilitator instead. And I feel like he played his role incredibly well. Hit some amazing charms, and he was able to dash in and get the job done. So overall, I got to give my impress to Dice.
Our producer shout out Jet as well to show some love to them. And on Twitter, you can let us know. We've had a lot of Pokemon references, but who do you choose as your mess or impress today? Let us know on the Twitter post as always. But that is going to be the end of our show today. So we're going to let you go and have a nice sunny one, at least in the UK. I don't know what it's like in America, but that's going to be all from us. We'll be back for one more final day, day 21 on Friday. You don't want to miss it.